Hello and a very warm welcome to Rajya Sabha television. You're watching the news tonight with me, Frank Razan Pereira. Here are the details. Supreme Court allows critically ill patients to die instead of surviving on life support systems. In a significant verdict, court allows passive euthanasia based on a will, gives guidelines to be followed till law is made. Parliament proceedings disrupted for the fifth day in a row. Rajya Sabha chairman acts on members' suggestion to appoint woman member to panel of vice chairman. Nominates Kaksha Parveen. Rajasthan approves bill to award death penalty for raping girls under 12 years of age. Becomes the second state after Madhya Pradesh to pass such a legislation that will become law after the president's assent. Three-day conference of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh begins in Nagpur to elect the next General Secretary of the organization. 1,500 office bearers to deliberate on issues of national importance and expansion of the organization. And President Ramnath Kovind praises Prime Minister Modi's efforts to fulfill dream of a clean India. Releases coffee table book containing Prime Minister's quotes on Mahatma Gandhi and the Gandhi's views on various subjects. Well, in a landmark judgment, the Supreme Court allowed passive euthanasia for terminally ill patients. Recognizing the right to die with dignity, the court allowed living will, where a person can choose in advance to withdraw from life support. However, the court has framed strict guidelines to prevent misuse. Here's a look at the details of the judgment.
Human beings have the right to die with dignity. Stating this, the Supreme Court allowed passive euthanasia for terminally ill patients. In its landmark judgment, the five-judge Constitution bench, headed by Chief Justice Deepak Mishra, allowed living will that permits doctors to withdraw life support. However, the court has set out strict guidelines to govern passive euthanasia. Under these, a family member or friend of a terminally ill person seeking passive euthanasia can approach the High Court that will constitute a medical board to decide if passive euthanasia is needed. The top court has said the guidelines will remain effective till a law comes into place.
That any individual has a full right to decide that he should not take any kind of medical treatment or that he should not be kept alive by artificial life support systems, and if that person so decides, that decision of that individual is binding on the doctors and his family, and they have to respect his decision.
According to the Supreme Court, the right to live with dignity also includes smoothing the process of dying. An adult human being having mental capacity to take an informed decision has the right to refuse medical treatment. In a living will, a person can choose in advance to withdraw from life support in case he or she becomes terminally ill in future. The living will should be made before a magistrate with two witnesses.
सही मानों में एक व्यक्ति जो इस तरह से बिस्तर पर पड़ा हुआ है अस्पताल के कि जिसको ना हालचाल है, ना ज़हन चलता है, ना शरीर का कोई भाग काम कर रहा है, और डॉक्टरों ने जवाब दे दिया है कि रिकवरी होने के कोई चांसेस नहीं है, मिराकल लाखों में एक होती है, तो ऐसी सूरत में वो राइट टू लाइफ जो है उसका दुरुपयोग नहीं होना चाहिए.
The Supreme Court judgment is only 50% positive. According to us, we don't want to live at all. We want to die while we are quite fit. Supreme Court judgment does not help us. Even it does not help the people who are terminally ill.
The verdict by the Constitution bench came on a PIL filed by NGO Common Cause seeking recognition of living will made by terminally ill patients for passive euthanasia. The petition said the right to life includes the right to die with dignity, and a person can't be forced to live on life support. With inputs from Ravindra Sharan, Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the Rajasthan Assembly today passed a bill approving death penalty to those convicted of raping or gang raping a girl up to 12 years of age. With this, Rajasthan has become the second state in the country after Madhya Pradesh to approve death sentence for those convicted of such rapes. The Criminal Laws Rajasthan Amendment Bill of 2018 was introduced in the Rajasthan Assembly by State Home Minister Gulab Chand Kataria. The bill was passed in the House unanimously by a voice vote. The new bill provides for death penalty or rigorous imprisonment, not less than 14 years for raping a girl up to 12 years of age. The bill will now be sent to the centre and will need the assent of the President to become a law. Well, in other news now, the swearing-in ceremony of the new Tripura government was held at the sprawling Assam Rifles ground in Agartala. Biplab Kumar Deb took oath as the first BJP Chief Minister of the state, while Jishnu Dev Burman was sworn in as the Deputy Chief Minister. The ceremony was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi and BJP Chief Amit Shah, who addressed the gathering. The first BJP Chief Minister of Tripura, Biplab Kumar Deb, was sworn in on Friday at a ceremony in Agartala. Jishnu Dev Burman took oath as the Deputy Chief Minister of the state, along with 7 other ministers, 5 from the BJP and 2 from the IPFT, including its chief NC Dev Burma. Governor Tatgata Roy administered the oath of office and secrecy to the ministers at a function at the sprawling Assam Rifles ground.
আমি সেই বিশ্বাসে সঙ্গে আপনাদের জন্য কাজ করব। আমি নতুন ব্যক্তি আছি, আমাকে আশীর্বাদ করুন যাতে আমি ভবিষ্যৎশালী ত্রিপুরা করতে পারি।
The swearing-in ceremony was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP President Amit Shah, Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh, senior BJP leaders Alki Advani and Murli Manohar Joshi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi assured the new Tripura government of full support from the centre.
जन भागीदारी से जनतंत्र इस मंत्र को लेकर के हम चलते आए हैं और त्रिपुरा वासी भी अनुभव करेंगे कि आपकी अपनी सरकार, लोकतंत्र के अधिष्ठान पर चलने वाली सरकार, जन जन की भागीदारी के साथ चलने वाली सरकार कितनी तेज गति से परिणाम लाती है, वो आप भी अनुभव करेंगे।
BJP Chief Amit Shah expressed hope of all-round development of Tripura under the new state government.
त्रिपुरा शांति के मार्ग पर आगे बढ़े, त्रिपुरा विकास के मार्ग पर आगे बढ़े और मुझे भरोसा है विप्लव जी और उनकी टीम मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में त्रिपुरा को शांति और विकास के मार्ग पर आगे ले जाएगी।
The BJP and IPFT combined swept to par in the state, winning 43 out of the 59 seats for which elections were held. The BJP had won 35 and IPFT 8 seats. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, on to proceedings from the Rajya Sabha now, a day after a request was made by a woman member of the Rajya Sabha to have a female member on the panel of vice chairmen. The chairman announced at the beginning of the day's proceedings today the decision to nominate JDU member Kakshan Parveen to the panel.
Honorable members, I have an announcement to make from the chair. In deference to the wishes of the members expressed yesterday on the occasion of International Women's Day to nominate a woman member to the panel of vice chairman, I have decided to nominate Srimati Kakshan Parveen to the panel of vice chairman with effect from 3rd April 2018. In this session itself, in the place of Sri Basavaraj Patil, whose term of office of Rajya Sabha is expiring on 2nd of April 2018. She was mayor also. She was also chairman of the Mahila Ayog of the state of Bihar, and also social worker. She worked in 20-point program also. She has enough knowledge.
The continued protests over several matters raised by opposition parties and some ruling NDA allies in the upper house paralyzed proceedings of the Rajya Sabha for the 5th day in a row. The Congress moved a notice under Rule 168 seeking a discussion on the PNB fraud case, while the TDP's demand for special status to Andhra Pradesh and the AIADMK and DMK's protests on formation of the Kaveri Management Board disrupted the House's proceedings. Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu expressed concern over the ongoing protests.
1 week has gone, honorable members. 1 week has gone waste. This is no good. This is no good. This is bad.
Well, Lok Sabha proceedings were also washed out for the fifth straight day. Members from the TDP, AIADMK and Congress continued their protests in the House, while parties from Andhra Pradesh pressed for a special status for the state. Members of the Congress and TMC disrupted the House over the recent banking frauds. This was the first week of Parliament's second leg of the budget session, in which the Finance Bill 2018 and demands for grants have to be passed. But due to repeated disruptions, the Lok Sabha has failed to transact any business during the entire week. Well, President Ramnath Kovind today accepted the resignations of Telugu Desam Party MPs Ashok Gajapati Raju and YS Chowdhury. The two ministers had submitted their resignations from the Union Cabinet to the Prime Minister on Thursday. That was after Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister Chandrababu Naidu announced his party's ministers will pull out of the NDA government. This despite Prime Minister Narendra Modi speaking to Andhra Pradesh Chief Minister N. Chandrababu Naidu, who explained his party's compulsions to the Prime Minister.
Here we don't talk all these things. Front low because
And before we slip into a short break, here's a quote, or rather here's a look at the quote of the day from the Rajya Sabha.
In deference to the wishes of the members expressed yesterday on the occasion of International Women's Day, to nominate a woman member to the panel of Vice Chairman, I have decided to nominate Srimati Kehkeshen Parveen to the panel of Vice Chairman with effect from 3rd April 2018. In this session itself, in the praise of Sri Basuraj Patil, whose term of office of Rajya Sabha is expiring on 2nd of April 2018. She was mayor also. She was also chairman of the Mahila Ayog of the state of Bihar, and also social worker. She worked in 20-point program also. She has enough knowledge.
A far-reaching judgment. Supreme Court allows living will, passive euthanasia. What does the verdict imply? Watch Passive Euthanasia, Death with Dignity on The Big Picture at 9:30 p.m.
IIT name itself has justified its worth. It has served the nation in a very, very dedicated way and very efficiently. The industries have to be a little more forthcoming. They have to come forward. They have to invest. Otherwise, commercialization is not possible. You really need commercial investment to see a product successfully doing business.
Watch Eureka with Professor Gautam Biswas, Director IIT Guwahati, only on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha television. Well, Karti Chidambaram was sent to CBI custody for 3 more days by a special court till March 12th. He will now be presented in court on Monday. Karti's bail plea will now be heard on March 15th. The court allowed the CBI to confront Karti with his chartered accountant S. Bhaskaraman, who was arrested by the Enforcement Directorate on February 16th. Although Karti got a breather from the Delhi High Court that restrained the Enforcement Directorate from arresting him till March 20th. Karti Chidambaram was arrested by the CBI last week on charges that he facilitated investment approvals for the INX Media Group back in 2007 and 2008 using the influence of his father and then Finance Minister P. Chidambaram. In return, Karti is alleged to have been paid $7 lakh by the 2 former co-owners of the media house, Peter and Indrani Mukherjee. A 3-day Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, the highest decision-making body of the RSS, kicked off in Nagpur on Friday. The conclave will chalk out the agenda of the RSS and the course of action for the next 3 years. The organization will also conduct elections for its General Secretary, done once in 3 years.
Over 1,500 office bearers of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh arrived in Nagpur for a 3-day conference. The once in a 3-year event includes the participation of 35 affiliated organizations and 25 women. The Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha of then RSS will elect the next Sarkareva or General Secretary of the organization. The Sarkareva is the executive head who looks after day-to-day activities of the RSS. Currently, Sarkareva Bhayaji Joshi has held the position since 2009.
सारे देश की एकता अखंडता के लिए उन्होंने जीवन भर प्रयत्न किया, सभी प्रकार के विवादों को समाप्त करने का प्रयत्न किया और पाकिस्तान की जो दुर्नीतियां रहती हैं उसके विरुद्ध वे लद्दाख जैसे दुर्गम क्षेत्र में हिम्मत के साथ खड़े रहे। उनके जीवन को लेकर सारे देश भर में राष्ट्रीय स्वयंसेवक संघ ने भिन्न-भिन्न प्रकार के कार्यक्रम किए हैं।
The Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha will also deliberate on various issues of national importance and pass resolutions. One of these will relate to the preservation of vernacular languages and dialects.
सुरक्षित रख सके, इसलिए इन बोलियों और भाषाओं को सुरक्षित रखना, इनको समृद्ध बनाए रखना, क्योंकि यह परंपराओं की वाहिका हैं। इस संबंध में एक प्रस्ताव आएगा, उस प्रस्ताव को लेकर स्वयंसेवक देश भर में समाज के बीच में जाएंगे।
On an expansion mode currently, RSS leaders say the activities of the organization are witnessing immense interest among urban professionals, including NRIs. Since January 2018, the RSS has organized 58,967 shakhas and 16,405 weekly millans. The thrust remains on respecting and celebrating diversity while fighting against forces dividing India.
In its annual report presented to the Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, the RSS voiced concern over internal strife in the society and condemned the incidents of violence and damage to public property. It also stressed that creating amicable and healthy environment by resolving all the problems should be the priority for one and all. Reporting from Nagpur with camera person Sanjay Kumar, I'm Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
And joining me for a chat right now is our correspondent Kriti Mishra. Well, Kriti Mishra, what's on the agenda as far as the 3-day conclave is concerned?
Well, Frank, of course, the Akhil Bharatiya Pratinidhi Sabha, which is the highest decision-making body of the RSS, the crucial meet began in Nagpur today. So today, of course, the annual report was presented by the General Secretary, where it highlighted the steps, enumerated the steps taken by the RSS and how it is contributing towards the social upliftment of the society by building schools, colleges, hospitals and also hostels. It also talked about how RSS is working with the farmers to ensure that incomes are elevated. That results in the economic empowerment and overall social and political and as well as cultural empowerment of the country. Most importantly, it presented its perspective on the national scenario where it condemned the internal strife and also vociferously condemned the incidents of violence and also the damage to public property. It also called for people to unite and celebrate the unity and diversity and work towards the ultimate aim of nation's development and nation's progress. Very importantly, Frank, every 3 years the election for the General Secretary of the RSS is held, so the entire process is extremely democratic. So the election process entails the resignation of the incumbent. Thereafter, an election in charge is appointed who calls for nominations from the delegates, and even those nominations are to be endorsed by 3 other members. So the entire process is extremely democratic. So today we saw the presentation of the annual report, and over the next 2 days we have to see the resolutions that would be passed and also the entire election process, because there is speculation is rife that some changes may take place while others are saying that the status quo would be maintained. So it would be extremely imperative to analyze how things shape up now, because we are heading into the election year and we've seen how RSS being the ideological mentor of the BJP and how the BJP has expanded its footprint over the last few years and how also it has, the juggernaut has rolled in the northeast. So certainly very interesting developments coming over the next 2 days.
Indeed, interesting developments coming up over the next 2 days, and we'll keep coming back to you over the course of the next 2 days to bring us the latest from Nagpur as well. But for now, thank you so much, Kriti Mishra, for joining us there with those details. Moving on now, President Ramnath Kovind inaugurated the coffee table book Fulfilling Bapu's Dream, Prime Minister Modi's Tribute to Gandhi at President's House on Friday. On the occasion, President appreciated the efforts of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to fulfill the dream of clean India. The first part of the book includes the quotes of Prime Minister Modi on Mahatma Gandhi. The second part includes the collection of Mahatma Gandhi's views on various issues. This book is published by Bluecraft Digital Foundation and Sulabh International. Well, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu interacted with students of Chennai's Bharat Institute of Law in New Delhi. The Vice President gave the students the best wishes for their future. The group of 80 students are in the national capital on a 4-day tour, during which they witnessed the proceedings of both houses of parliament and also visited Tihar jail. Well, the National Legislators Conference is being held for the first time. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the conference on Saturday. Vice President of India and Chairman of the Rajya Sabha M. Venkaiah Naidu will address legislators on Sunday at the closing ceremony of the 2-day event. Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan, who is hosting this conference, said that close to 200 MLAs from 20 state assemblies across the nation are expected to take part at the conference.
Beginning Saturday, the Central Hall of Parliament will host 200 legislators from across the country at the first of its kind National Legislators Conference. We for Development is the theme of the conclave, that is the brainchild of Lok Sabha Speaker Sumitra Mahajan. Mahajan selected 18 young MPs and leaders for the core group to host the 2-day conference that will also have 8 speakers from different state assemblies.
विकास को आधार मान करके और विकास के लिए सभी लोग एकत्रित, विकास में कोई राजनीति नहीं होती है, वो जनता के लिए होता है और इसलिए जनप्रतिनिधि विकास के लिए कैसे काम करे। तो इस बार भी हमने उसी आधार पर एक सम्मेलन कहो, कॉन्फ्रेंस कहो, जो कल और परसों 2 दिन आयोजित की है, 10 और 11।
The 2-day event will be a platform for the MPs, MLAs and MLCs to share their success stories and to give their perspective on developmental issues in light of sustainable development goals. Niti Aayog CEO Amitabh Kant will give a presentation of development model being adopted in 101 most backward districts. The plenary session will be held in the Central Hall, while the 2-day event will be spread around 2 parallel sessions.
वी फॉर डेवलपमेंट, हम विकास के लिए हम किस तरीके से काम करेंगे, क्योंकि केवल मैं मानती हूँ यहाँ कुछ घोषणाएं करके या केंद्र आधारित कुछ परियोजनाएं चला करके केवल विकास नहीं हो पाता जब तक वो नीचे तक नहीं पहुँचे।
Many senior central ministers including Arun Jaitley, JP Nadda, Nitin Gadkari, Nirmala Sitharaman, Prakash Javadekar are slated to address the legislators. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu will address the valedictory session on Sunday afternoon at the Central Hall. In 2016, a similar initiative by Lok Sabha Speaker had resulted in another first-of-its-kind convention of women legislators representing nearly all state assemblies. Vineet Dikshit's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, UPA chairperson Sonia Gandhi has said that the Congress party will be open to accept a non-Gandhi as Congress president in the future. Speaking at an event organized by a private news channel for the first time after relinquishing the post of Congress president, Sonia Gandhi spoke on a wide range of topics including Rahul Gandhi, her own shortcomings and the role of democracy in India. Gandhi said that the Congress also needs to develop a new style of connecting with the people at the organizational level.
Congress party survive without the Gandhis? Will there be is there a chance of any other leader being there?
Why not? In future, they may well be.
Moving on to some sports news now, where the Indian hockey team went down to world number 10 Ireland in their last league phase game of the Sultan Azlan Shah Cup 2018 in Ipoh on Friday. The Indian side, led by Sardar Singh, took the lead in the first 5 minutes of the match when Ramandeep deflected a penalty corner into the net. The second quarter saw much more action, with Ireland building pressure early on and making the most of a free hit to equalise. But 2 minutes later, India found a way to regain their lead by converting another penalty corner. Sean Murray and Lee Cole scored a goal each in the third quarter to give Ireland the lead. India tried to create chances in the final quarter but failed to go past a cautious Irish defence. Well, with that, it's a wrap of this newscast. Good night.